Hello, hi, and welcome all. I'm Pushkar Yashashvi again from Junction, back with my new podcast session. And today we have with us Shantanu Date, who is currently working as a product manager in Paytm and is also an alumni of at IIM Calcutta and has also worked for Fidelity Investments as a software engineer and worked for Tata's also did the internship. So, hi Shantanu, did I miss anything about you in your introduction?
No, hey Pushkar, that's sort of exactly right. So I'm currently working at Paytm as a product manager. I have first worked at Fidelity Investments for about 2 years as a software engineer. I did my internship with TAS, which is sort of the leadership program that Tata has, which they open for internal candidates as well as B schools. A 2 month internship, and then I got into product management full-fledged at Paytm. So that's a brief. I've worked for about 10 months at Paytm now. So newly into the field, but quite liking it. Yeah.
All right, that's great. That's great. So, what are your like day-to-day responsibilities? Like, what are your day-to-day work?
So I look at Paytm's homepage, which is your application, iOS and Android main page that comes up when you open the application. I also look at their core product, which is basically the technical side of the application. So there are a bunch of things that can't really be segregated into home, but then they are core functionalities to the application. So a lot of verticals get access to them. A part of this is something called Storefront, which is an internal product which lets verticals make UI and basically have a combined backend for their front-end pages. So these are the core products that I look at. I work with quite a few cool folks. We have about a 2-3 people product team. We have a detailed iOS, Android team, design analysts, everything. So that's what I basically manage. On the everyday side, we have a release cycle. So what we have is features that we want to push, getting those developed. So how I typically segregate it is into 4 buckets. The first part is ideation. So ideation of new products. What exactly do we want to put on the homepage? What exactly is a functionality that we want to provide to other verticals? So that's the ideation part of it. The second part is mostly around communication. So getting the ideated product, made actually implemented, so that there are developers who are going to go and create the product. There's a backend which is going to support it. There are key business related dependencies that we want to analyze, all of that. So that is the communication part of it, the implementation part of it. The third part is analysis. So once a product is out there, how exactly is it being used? Are there parts of it which are not being used that well? Are there parts of it which can be improved? Parts of them which are going great? So that's the analysis part. And the last part is, because my work is sort of in between, so it's not just about B2C product. So the homepage is the main B2C component of it, but I also look at a product which is inherently B2B internally. So for that, it's also about evangelizing to internal verticals. So letting them know that, this is the product that we have, this is an improvement that we have made. This is a new feature that you can use in conjunction to what you're already using. So that's how I would typically categorize my day-to-day activities broadly. So ideation, implementation, analysis, and evangelizing the product to internals. So that's basically what I would do.
Wow, that's great. Like it took me a real time to analyze like how could you manage in these all things
yeah, but then that's typically why the product manager role is not in one specific domain, right? It's you are an individual contributor who sits at the confluence of a lot of different streams, and your product is not successful unless it is being used, unless it is actually solving the problem that you think exists. So you can't just say that I'm going to do this bit of it and then I'm just done. At the end of the day, it's that you feel that there was a problem and your endpoint should be that have I solved that problem? And then everything that comes in between is your problem, to be very specific.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one part that I like about product management. That's also one part that typically gets a bit hectic, but yeah.
That's great. That's great. So as you're working from past 10 months in Paytm, okay, and you have worked with many other corporates. So you might be having some vision and vision in your life. So what are they?
So yeah, since the time that I was a software engineer, I had this thing that I want to actually, go ahead and make products, like, solve real world problems. Because as a software engineer, you don't really have the, you don't have the visibility about, okay, I'm doing this bit of work. Where exactly is it going? So you might be actually writing code that does something very critical. But then whether that actually goes on and creates something that solves a problem for a valid customer or a valid user base is not something that you have visibility of. So that was one thing that I always wanted to do, that, work on, creating a product. Like creation is something that, is inherent to all human beings, I feel. That, once you make something with your own hands, you get a bit of satisfaction. And that has sort of driven me. In the digital era, you are no longer making things with your hands.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is you're actually contributing to creating products. So that was, I think, my primary driver. So I looked at a bunch of different things when I was doing my MBA. Like I was not really focused on one specific thing. Like for example, IIM Calcutta is known to be a finance campus. So although I was quite interested in the finance side of things, I was not into investing or private equity or investment banking or anything. I just wanted to, understand the basics. If I am actually making a product, how exactly do I make sure that the financial aspect of it is correct? How exactly do I make sure that the operational aspect of it is? So that's how I sort of planned my MBA, and then it was just about अच्छा ये interesting लग रहा है, ये सब कर लो, ये करते हैं, all of that.
So it also depends on you, like which interests you, which subject makes you interesting, and which subject are you interested in.
Yeah. So for example, what happens in an MBA is that you have a generalized MBA and then you get a major, at least in the IIMs, that you can do a major in X or a major in Y, and you need to do a few courses in order to get that major. Now, I did not end up doing a major because I felt that my interests were too, diverse. कि अच्छा ये भी करना है, अब वो उसका एक subject अच्छा लग गया तो वो भी करना है. So then you can't really, like be अच्छा ठीक है, मतलब marketing में कर लिया major. Like that's not something that I did. So in itself, product management is like a field of generalists, right? And you are not really using too much from your MBA. Like you're not using a subject that you learned in your MBA. Like for example, if you're let's say doing core marketing, then there would be subjects that you would have in your MBA that you would effectively use, but not so much with product management. Like it's just a mesh of everything that you learn, right? So it helps to a certain extent to have that diverse attitude in terms of an MBA, but then it's just everyone's own cup.
That's nice. That's really great. Okay. So, Shantanu, as you were working in Fidelity Investments as a software engineer, so what made you drive to product management? Like, why did it interest you, and how did you came to know about product management?
So, when I was working as a software engineer, I did not have a computer science background. I was just in a job where sort of logic and programming came a little bit naturally to me. I was not academically trained in it, but then like the typical software engineer in the Indian market, like जुगाड़ करके हो जाता वैसे, है ना? So that's the kind of software engineer I was, but then I was more gravitated towards the customer aspect of it. So what happened was I was in an internal team wherein we supplied technology to other internal teams. So it was not a customer facing product. It was more of a B2B kind of a product where the people who were our customers were internal. So what happens in that kind of a scenario is that you have daily interaction with, like you have at max 50 teams internally that use what you're making. No more than that. At max, you will have 20-25 people that you'll be talking. Now, what interested me the most was that I could go and talk to them. I could see how exactly they were using the product, and I could envisage solutions to problems that they had. So oftentimes what happened was I would go up to my manager and I would say, like, look, I think 1 month later, they are going to have this problem. Can we solve it? Like, can we take up this as a problem for ourselves, make a feature for it? And there were actually times when I felt that this would be a problem. My manager was probably on a leave or something, and I was looking at the overall sprint. So I just created a couple of tasks, worked on it for 2 days, sent out a mail to them saying that this is an extra feature. Now, I had that because I was on a small team. The overall impact was not that big. But then in order to make sure that that was, that escalated properly, that reached the proper platform, I had to do an MBA. I was overall planning to do an MBA. And then the product management part of it, given my background, came as sort of a natural. Right? So the thing is, every developer is a product manager to a certain extent. Even now when I work, there are insights that developers have, there are insights that QA folks have, designers have, that oftentimes as a product manager, I don't have. They are solving those problems at a micro level, often at a macro level too. As a product manager, it's just about, looking at all of these different problems, prioritizing the right ones, making sure that, you have the core problem that you need to solve is connected to the solution that you need. So everyone on the team is to a certain extent making those decisions. It's just that as a product manager, you are owning the product, you are, taking the final call on these things.
All right. That's really great that how you came to know about the product manager and what made you interest. You told about this thing. That's very informative also. And also you told before when I asked you in the question that what is your mission and vision. So you also told that why did I went to product management, because you had curiosity of to make products, to make things. So there might be a point also that that's what made you interested in this product management of it, right?
Also, one more thing. So one thing that I've seen over the past 10 months is that a lot of the work of a product manager is just communication. Like, you need to effectively communicate to all the possible stakeholders that, look, this is what we are going to do. This is the way that we are going to do it. Right. The why of it, the how of it, it's all just communication. Like, there are often days when you're not doing anything. Like, you're just making a document, you're just going into meetings with people, trying to convince them that this is something that the customer needs. Right. So it's just effective communication. And given my background in not just academics, even co-curriculars and everything, I felt that I was an effective communicator, that, I would like to get into the business of just communicating. Yeah.
That's nice. So, Shantanu, as you did your MBA from one of the top IIMs like IIM okay? So you might have given many MBA exams and CAT. So could you please tell us about your preparation, that how did you prepare for CAT and how much did you score? It would be very helpful for our audience and viewers also to understand.
Yeah. So my CAT journey was like very, how should I say, stereotypical. Like, I'm the general engineering male candidate. I tried in my final year of my undergrad. I did not score a good percentile. I'll take a bit of work X and I'll do it again. I did not have a good enough pointer in my UG. So I was, academically, like, I was okay in my 10-12, but then my UG was not that good. So then already I had to score a bit on the higher side in order to get calls and everything. So that was my typical journey. I appeared in the final year of my undergrad. I did not make it through. I did not get any decent calls. Then 2 years later, I tried again for CAT. Prepared properly this time, made sure that, I was concentrating on my weak points, proper test taking strategy, everything. So I took up the time coaching classes in Bangalore, and so I scored 99.88 on CAT, and I also gave ZAT. I scored decently on it. So I did not get calls from Ahmedabad and Bangalore though. Calcutta was my best call, so I converted that. I also converted like FMS and XLR, but then I ended up going to Joka. So that was a good decision, I think, now. Yeah.
That's
So that typical journey, I was good at verbal. I was not so good at DILR. I tried to just score decent marks, and it's my percentile doesn't get hampered. But yeah, fun times.
So you want to say that your preparation was, very ordinary, like every cat aspirant does.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
also doing that.
yeah. It was like it was very stereotypical. Like for example, I'm not that good at maths. Like मेरे से हो जाते हैं questions, but ऐसे नहीं कि मतलब बहुत ऐसे तो like 34 like अभी तो number of questions भी कम हो गए. I think 27 हो गए. Like 27 में से 25 करके आगे ऐसा भी नहीं था. Like ठीक है, मतलब आराम आराम से 20 सवाल कर दिए, उसमें से 18-19 सही आ गए. That was my state in maths. I was decently good in verbal, so that sort of was my saving grace. But then very ordinary preparation. I had a few friends that I prepared with. There's a time after your engineering, everybody's like, MBA करते हैं.
So
I was in that phase.
Did you have a group with you? Like you were preparing with a group?
Not a hard and fast group. Like ऐसा नहीं कि बैठ के prepare करेंगे. But then I had 2-3 people that I used to benchmark myself against. That we used to give tests together. We used to compare our scores after tests. So I did not do too much of the in-class learning part of it, because that's basic 10th tak ka knowledge, right? What you build is actually in the mock tests. So I prepared a lot from the mock test point of view, and I had like a detailed analysis and test comparison kind of a habit. So that sort of helped, because it's mostly just 10th ka knowledge, and then on top of that, just test taking strategy is what I.
That's true.
And nerves.
That's great. So, Shantanu, as you told about the preparations and your CAT score also, so any message or anything you want to say to our MBA aspirants, those who are watching this video, like what do you want to say to them?
I think in terms of see, MBA is basically like a finishing school. Right? You're not getting taught something which is it's not a PhD. It's not a master's in a particular field. It's not depth. It's a lot of breadth. Right? Obviously, you get depth when you, like, let's say you take up a particular group. Like, let's say you take up marketing. You'll obviously get a lot of depth inside it, but then it's still not a specializing. It's more like a breadth course that gives you a viewpoint of overall business and everything connected with it. Right. So for aspirants, mostly just concentrate on your core aptitude-based fundamentals. Like there are a bunch of exams around. CAT is not the only exam. There are a bunch of good colleges around. At the end of the day, the MBA is just going to provide you a platform for better networking, a better peer group. For me personally, I really like the learning that I got out of IIM Calcutta. I like that the professors, the peer group was quite smart to a certain extent. So overall, it's just the next step. Like, it's just you're formalizing 4 years of career growth into a 2-year MBA and making sure that you are headed in that. So it's okay if you get into a good college, great. Even if you don't get into a good college, you'll get there. I've seen people growing even without an MBA. I've seen people not growing even with it. So it's not the last milestone.
Yeah, that's truly so. Even if those who don't have MBA degree, that doesn't mean that you can't grow in professional or you can't grow in corporate. Because I have seen many of my friends and even my family members who have not done their MBA, but they are still working in good firms or working in good position at good firms. That's really great.
Yeah.
MBA degree is not the final step of the life. I would also like.
Yeah. Also, one more thing is an MBA is not something that will help you out if you're confused. Okay. So don't think of it this way that मैं confused हूँ तो मैं MBA कर लूँगा फिर मुझे पता चल जाएगा कि मुझे क्या करना है. That's not how it works. People come out of an MBA equally confused. Okay. like a loan is not worth sorting out the confusion. The confusion will sort out for itself.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't there are a lot more things related to an MBA that are worth it.
Yes, that's truly said, because it's a stereotype thinking that कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है तो चलो यार MBA कर लेते हैं. After graduation, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do a job. चलो MBA कर लेते हैं. So MBA is not that type of degree that कुछ नहीं समझ रहा है then ये कर लेते हैं.
Yeah, it will only add to the confusion, man. I mean, you'll go in and you'll be like, यार मेरे को तो लगता था इतना सा है अभी हो. Damn. So it will not help with the confusion. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's really true about the MBA, what you said also. So, Shantanu, I would like to ask you that, as you told about the work day-to-day responsibility. So, how do you manage your work life and your personal life? How do you give time to both of them?
I think what happens often in companies like startups and new age tech companies is that you always need to be on, like you always need to be attentive, right? So, for example, a particular issue can crop up at any point of time, and it's live on production. You can't really say that, yaar, main abhi nahi kar. That's not how it goes. Like daily 4 crore people come to Paytm homepage now. Like, and I'm just giving out numbers, but crores of people come to the Paytm homepage now. I cannot say that मैं अभी नहीं करूँगा. Even in the midnight, there are people who are making payments, who want to scan a QR and send money to someone. Right now, that sort of is a problem at times. But then it's not typical work-life balance. Like how I would look at work-life balance is, am I getting time to grow? Am I getting time to do something, pursue a passion outside of my overall time? And in that respect, the work from home thing really, it's very easy to switch on and off. You don't really have to, spend a lot of time traveling. You don't really have to, be like, "Arey yaar, मेरे को खाना बना के लेके जाना है office and all." You just sit at your desk, a cook will come, he'll make some food, and you don't need to worry about all of these things. So, like, the residual effect of it is that even though you might end up working a little bit more, you might end up being available during off-time hours. You will still have more time. So it's not really that big of an issue. The second thing is that the part about being always on, like even if it was, work from office, what you need to do as a product manager is you need to be attentive of the problems. Like there are millions of people using your particular product. Am I attentive? Am I cognizant of the fact that there would be issues? Am I reaching out to people? Am I being, aware that this is something that the competitor has made? This is something that an app which is completely not related to your particular industry has done. Like, let's say Spotify comes up with something. Now, I need to be cognizant of the fact that, yaar, acha, ye naya aaya hai. Can I use something like this? Is this a user behavior, consumer behavior that my customers are used to? And that needs to percolate into everything that you do in your daily life, because all our time nowadays is spent on that. Like I'll have an app for everything. Now, what I need to do is I need to tie in my own behavior and the behavior of the people around me across these apps, across these digital products. And then I need to identify consumer behavior, that this is what the user is used to do. This is what I am used to do. This is what happens on different platforms of the application. iOS users behave inherently different than Android users when they are using their phones, when they're using their devices. How does my iOS app differ in terms of my Android app in terms of these native behaviors that the user is used to? So in those terms, work-life balance becomes like a, it's this mesh. Like you can never be, yaar, acha theek hai, laptop band kar diya and now you're done. है ना? Because अगर तुम नीचे दूध लेने भी जा रहे हो तो you are using the application. You are, if you're not a product manager, you are a customer. है ना? So it's not really a very defined margin. You need to be on, but then that's also the beauty of it. Like everything that you do is going to affect the decisions that you make. Where, like today is a Saturday, I can do a bunch of things and enjoy all that I want. But then come Monday, I am going to take insights from this Saturday of the things that I did, of the things that my friends did, and then incorporate that into the next product that I make.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's really true. That how you told about managing work life and about being on.
Yeah. And I've seen this at the very top, from the very top at Paytm. Like it's just like you need to be on, and you need to be like you need to know that where is the next opportunity. You need to be open. तुम ऐसे नहीं बोल सकते कि यार now my work is done, so I'm just going to turn off. Like तुम offline तो नहीं जाओगे, right? 2 हफ्ता दो दिन weekend है. You're not going to say that यार I'm just going to read a book and I'm not going to do anything. That's not how your life goes.
That's true. Yeah, that's really great how you told about how you manage your work life and your personal life. It's little messed up, right?
Yeah.
No issues, but you might be getting great learnings from the role which you're taking, right?
Yeah.
That's nice.
It's a so what happens in a B2C product is that you get your learnings not just like every day when you go to a corner shop and you buy something, right? There's a learning over there. Like, is there a competitor who is doing something else? Is there a problem that a small scale vendor has that a large scale vendor doesn't? Is there a problem that a big basket has that, let's say, your chai wala does? Right now, it is a lot of learning, and that is because even on the Saturday you are thinking of the money. That's where the learning comes from.
Yeah, that's true. So, Shantanu, as you were once an MBA student of one of the top schools, so how did you work on your CV to stand out of crowd and got into big companies? How did you work it?
So the way I did it was I just did what I liked. Like, for example, I had been into dramatics in my undergrad, and I was the president of the Dramatics Society in my UG, and I sort of continued with it at IIM Calcutta. So I saw that the dramatics scene at IIM Calcutta was quite good. So I sort of continued with it. I did that for about 2 whole semesters when it was offline. Obviously, in the online mode, that was problematic in itself. But then I tried working on things that I liked that helped me develop. For example, I was quite a lot into board games. So that helped me, build those interpersonal skills, negotiation skills. So these are things that you would learn from your peer group. So we used to sit for nights and used to just play board games, and we would be learning from each other. Yeah. Because when you go to the workplace, the people that you will be interacting with are exactly the kind of people who would be there in your B school. So I try to develop my soft skills. I try to, develop my hobbies, take up more courses that I actually genuinely had an interest in versus, just courses that would help me score better or something like that. So that was basically my way of approaching my MBA. In terms of differentiating your CV, I just feel that it is a lot about how articulate you are when you are making the CV. Because what happens in a CV is that you've got like 30 seconds that the viewer will see your CV, especially in these, and they'll like put it in a shortlisted stack, or they'll put it in a not shortlisted stack. So there are a lot of iterations that happen in terms of refining your CV that I feel that you do need to go. Like, there is a process to it. You need to go through the process. You cannot say, like, at the end of the day, you're going to have some points. तुम्हारे points ऐसे magically बहुत अच्छे नहीं होंगे. Obviously, there are going to be a lot of things that you do during an MBA. You'd have an internship, you would have project opportunities, you would have case competitions, there would be ways in which you can get a PPI opportunity. There are a bunch of things that you would already be doing. But that bit of making your CV, of refining your CV, of actually spending time on it, of actually saying that, yeah, there are like, I have done an internship of 2 months and now I need to distill this into 4 points. How exactly do I do that? How exactly do I derive that impact? Is something that an MBA teaches you very well. Like an MBA in India does teach you that. Like you go outside, you do an MBA, all of the other things like case competitions, project opportunities, all of that is going to stay. But because the number of people over here are quite high, you need to make your CV in a way that you grab those items. You need to make your CV in a way that it gets put into that shortlist. So that refining part of it is very important. You need to spend some time on yourself. It's not something that, a well-made CV, which doesn't have as much points, can get more shortlist than a CV that is just, put together at the last minute without too much effort, but which has points. Right? So spend time on it. Go through iterations, talk to seniors. There might be people in the industry that you know. There might be people from your past experience that you know. There might be people who recruit for such positions that you know. Reach out to them, see what they want. There are different ways. For different companies, you want to make different CVs. For different industries, you want to make different CVs. Make sure what is the best, not format, but relative weightage of different things between your CV headers, etc. So spend some time on this is what I would say.
True. That's true. Yeah. Because if you are applying to any industry, you should also know that what are they looking for, what skill set are they looking for. Yeah. And you should also include that if you have have that skill set.
Yeah, and what happens when you spend time on your CV is that you are prepared for the interview. है ना? तुमने एक पॉइंट लिखा है, उसके पीछे तुमने 5 अलग-अलग पॉइंट्स सोचे थे.
Yes.
So you can defend that point. You don't need to think over there. You have already gone through those iterations. You have already एक point के पीछे 2 point already हैं which tell what that 1 point is about. And then when you were refining your CV, you were like, yeah, I don't have space for this, so I'm just going to toss it. But then you know what those 2 points were. You know them in proper articulate English. You don't need to think about them too much. You can just be like, yeah, I know what you're asking about. I just did not write it for myself. But then I thought about it when I was making myself.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very great and very insightful that how can someone distinguish their CV and how can they get shortlisted. That's really great. And I would like to ask you one more thing, that as you are working for so long and you have worked with many other companies also, so what learnings did you got from every company and everywhere you
worked? I think when it comes to different companies, different industries, the learnings are different. Like, for example, when I was at TAS and I did my 2-month-long project, my core learning was stakeholder management. Like, you are in a project where there are diverse groups of people. You need to, for example, the project that I worked for was an ops project, but then it was also dependent on the financial side. And I had to talk to people who were on ground, who were basically going and doing installations, people who were, going and putting in the wiring and all of that. And I had to make sure that there was no fraud. So I had to be street smart. But at the same time, I had to make sure that I was empathetic towards it. I was actually seeing what the problem was rather than just solving the symptoms, because that is also something that so proper stakeholder management, not just looking at it from the business point of view, because at the end of the day, Tata was a company that is a company that really focuses on its entire values. Like, you cannot just put in a, like, you cannot just be an intern who says that you need to put this particular rule so that fraud decreases. But then that might have far-reaching effects that might come up 6 months after your project is done. Now you need to be cognizant of all of these different statements. So that is something that I learned. When I was at Fidelity as a software engineer, that is really just learning about professionalism, because that was my first job. Like, that was about learning what it means to work in a proper formal environment, go every day and spend 8 hours and make sure that you're making some impact, you're making a difference, at the same time being respectful towards people who have been in the industry for so long, learning from them, working in a proper corporate environment. That was my learning. At Paytm, I think it's just been immense in terms of technology, in terms of how to effectively communicate with people, in terms of even analyzing a lot of things. So, for example, in terms of the data, I'm learning a lot more now. How to analyze data, how to analyze consumer behavior, how to analyze how a user uses your app and shifts across various pages. There's a lot of learning. It really depends on the industry. It really depends on the product that you are in. So, for example, I have had a lot of learning in terms of the backend responsibilities, how the backend needs to be made in order to support the front end, all of that. Yeah.
That's great. That was really, a great point that you told. As you told about the different industries have different types of learning. If you go into sales industry, you're getting all the learning about sales. And if you're going into, product-based industry, you would all be learning about the products, how to manage products, how to, design products in mind of the customer, that how would they attract, and that's a really great point.
I think one thing though about a job, right, is that you always think you're doing bad.
Yeah.
You can never be sure. Okay, yeah, am I doing okay? Like, I am, like, especially when you're new, right? You're in this perpetual state that, yeah, I'm not doing good. It's okay. Have conversations with your teammates, have conversations with your manager, understand where is it that you're doing good, where is it that you're faltering. The course correction part is more important than the part of doing.
That's true. But, some people also, as you told about, I'm not doing good or I'm not doing well performing, because of some people feel like I'm not getting motivated, or, nobody's appreciating me. Because of this also, people also feel like that. Is this something wrong that I'm doing? Or is this something, if I'm giving my 100%, then why don't everyone appreciates me? That might be also one of the reasons, right?
True. So, see, the thing is that at the end of the day, you can be in a place that is probably not the best place for your talents. Like, for example, I got into software development, and in 6 months, my manager was like, you're doing good, but then I feel you can be better off someplace else. Right? So, although I was a decent programmer, he saw in me that I could do X, Y, Z in a better. Right? So, even in companies, whenever you are in a job, there will be opportunities for you to shift gears, for you to pivot slightly. For example, I see a bunch of people who are today heading HR for major companies. Right? Now, they might not have started in the same way, right? They might have led a team. They might have understood that they're great working with people. And which is why they felt that they could get into proper human resources at a particular point. Right. So their skill of managing people was something that they were more comfortable with, that they felt that their opportunity, like their aptitude was better used.
Yeah.
Right. And this applies to a lot of other people as well. Like, for example, in product management, that happens a lot. People who are in tech shift to product management internally, because they have this way of looking at products that is more useful in this particular job.
Yes.
Right. So you might feel that what you're doing right now is not appreciated enough. But then at the same time, you need to go back and say that, look, these are the things that I am doing good. These are the things that I'm not doing that good. Here where I am, I think this particular role can be slightly better. This particular role can help me leverage my core competencies better.
Yeah.
Right. And that shift might be as simple as going from a B2C side to a B2B side. You don't really need to make a big change. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's really true. Everything you are saying is really, truly related to everyone. That those who are working in employees or working in any position, they might be related. That you should know what are your strengths and what are your weakness. If you're not getting appreciation, don't get demotivated. Just focus on your work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And see, it's a buyer's market over there. Like you can go out, you look for better opportunities. If you're in a place where you feel you're not appreciated, I'm not saying quit your job and just go live a monk's life, but it's like you can look out for other opportunities if you feel that the place where you are in are not that good.
Yes. That's
true. But then when you are applying for that role, then you need to exhibit those core.
Yeah, that's truly so. So coming to the last part of the session, I would really like to thank you, Shantanu, for coming here and giving us insightful information about everything and everything you do, how you manage. I would really special thanks to you for taking out the time and sharing this information. And I would like to thank our audience also for listening to this podcast session. And also I would like to tell our audience that do subscribe this channel. We will be coming with more podcast sessions with big peoples. And thank you once again, Shantanu. Thank you so much. Anything you want?
Thanks a lot, Pushkar. It was a great opportunity, Pushkar. It was great talking with you. And what happens is you go through weeks where you're doing work, where you're just following a process, and it's during conversations when you actually think back a little. You try to formalize the processes that you have. Try to say that, okay, probably I'm not doing this little bit. I mentioned it in this particular chat I had with a friend, and probably I should start doing this. So it's not just that, somebody who's looking at this or viewing this would be learning from it. It's just that because this is a heart-to-heart conversation, I am learning from it as much as the other persons. Yeah. So thanks a lot for this opportunity. It was great talking with you.
Thank you, Shantanu. Thank you so much. Thank you. So thanks, Shantanu.